On February 20, 1994, a severely ill emphysema patient and her retarded daughter were found strangled in their Harlem housing project apartment. The bodies of Sarah Roberts, 57, and daughter Sharon, 26, were discovered inside their sixth-floor apartment on West 125th Street in the Grant Houses about 10:15 p.m. Sunday. Captain Michael Duffy, commander of Manhattan's 6th Detective Division, said Sarah Roberts' body was found on a bed in one room and Sharon's was in a second bedroom. There was a woolen stocking wrapped around their neck. Both were fully clothed, both died from ligatured strangulation. The bodies were found by a caretaker who last spoke to Sarah Roberts about 8 p.m. Saturday when they discussed her plans to attend a wake later that night. The caretaker became worried when she didn't hear from Sarah. She along with her daughter went to Sarah's apartment. The apartment was partially ransacked but there was no sign of forced entry, leaving the motive for the slayings unclear, according to detectives. While Roberts would sometimes keep up to $400 on hand to cover expenses, police said it was unknown yesterday if she had any money there at the time of the slayings. "We're looking to interview certain individuals who would frequent the apartment just to socialize a little bit, acquaintances of the mother." Detectives said they were also investigating whether the slayings were connected to a burglary. Due to a lack of evidence, this case went unsolved for almost 30 years. Detectives used the DNA found at the scene. They were able to trace it to an ex-con by the name of Larry Atkinson. He was, and still is, the boyfriend of Celeste Cornelius, the aide to Sarah Roberts. Larry did several stints in state prison and was charged on January 23, 2023 with murder in the vicious 1994 cold case slaying of a Harlem mother and her special needs daughter. Larry Atkinson, 64, was picked up by the NYPD Bronx cold case squad around 7:30 a.m. for the nearly 3 decades-old strangulation deaths of Sarah Roberts, 57, and her 25-year-old daughter, Sharon. The mom and daughter were found inside their apartment in the Grant Houses public housing complex on February 20, 1994, but the case remained unsolved until now. Detectives used DNA evidence from the 28-year-old crime scene to link the murders to the suspected killer, including from cigarette butts and fingernail clippings, according to the police. Atkinson was dating a home healthcare aide who cared for Sharon Roberts, who was developmentally disabled, and still lives with the woman. The aide, Celeste Cornelius, stood by her man on Monday. "I know he didn't do it," she said outside their Harlem apartment. "I don't want you to misquote me, but I know he didn't do it. I don't care about the DNA, none of that mess. He didn't do it." Cops found no evidence of forced entry in the sixth-floor apartment after the home attendant made the grisly discovery and called 911, the Post reported at the time. Sarah Roberts was found on her bed and her daughter was on the floor with a woolen stocking wrapped around her neck. Police said a cassette video recorder and several $100s in cash were stolen.
Larry, did you kill Sharon? Larry Atkinson, now 64 years old, kept his eyes closed and was shaking at points as he was taken by EMS from the 50th precinct. He told officers he wasn't feeling well after his arrest for the strangulation deaths of a mother and daughter in their Harlem apartment in 1994. Pix 11 News covered the double murder on February 20th, 1994, nearly 29 years ago. 57-year-old Sarah Roberts and her daughter, 25-year-old Sharon Roberts, were found dead in their apartment on the 6th floor of the Grant Houses on West 125th Street, both strangled in their bedrooms.
Anybody could be in the hallway. I think it's a shame.
It's kind of scary, that's all I can tell you.
Detectives at the time told us the bodies were discovered by the home health care worker assigned to take care of Sharon, who was intellectually disabled.
She came over and found that the door was unlocked.
The home health care worker was not considered a suspect at the time and was cleared. Now, decades later, cold case detectives once again ran the DNA found at the crime scene through national databases. and they say it's a match to Atkinson. Larry Atkinson, now 64 years old, had been living here at 71 West 112th Street. This is where he was arrested. Neighbors saying they saw a lot of police activity. Sources say back in 1994, Atkinson had been dating the home health care worker who found the bodies. Monday night, Atkinson's neighbors didn't want to talk about the arrest on camera. And at the victim's apartment, almost 29 years later, tenants were unaware of the double murder.
I'm trying to find somebody that would know somebody that lived here 30 years ago. Did you know Sarah or Sharon Roberts?
And Atkinson has 13 prior arrests, according to police, and according to state records, 5 prior convictions in which he served under different aliases. He will now be arraigned on those 2 counts of murder as soon as medically possible.
It's unclear why Atkinson allegedly killed the pair or how he got into their apartment at the time. The career criminal has a total of 28 prior arrests and served prison time on 5 separate state convictions. His time behind bars dates to 1985, when he was sentenced to 2 years in prison on an assault conviction and was paroled in 1987, online state records show. Atkinson, who also did state time on assault, drug and attempted robbery raps, was last paroled in 2013 after serving another 2 years on an attempted drug sale conviction, according to the records. The accused killer, who is apparently ill with cancer, was taken to a hospital following his arrest and later treated and released. A neighbor who is 84, said Atkinson and Cornelius have lived together in the building for at least 20 years. Rest in peace Sharon and Sarah Roberts.